Hello and welcome to The Gist. I am your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things that are happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. And on today's show, we are covering the juiciest, the best, the moments of 2023 that will forever live on in pop culture history. And that's right, we delivered this last year, the same list. It was our very first episode of The Gist, and here we are a year later with even more amazing moments that we still can't stop talking about. So, what was the tea? What was keeping us piping hot at the water cooler? What was keeping us talking all year long? We are going to cover it today. Very, very excited about this list. And I got to be honest, it was hard to narrow this thing down because there were some serious pop culture moments in 2023 that will forever live on. And I have to say, only being days into the new year, we have already delivered some incredible pop culture moments of 2024. And so we have to, first honor the year that has passed. And then, of course, we are going to be here all year long again, delivering all the biggest pop culture moments. Every month we will have our pop culture roundup. So we'll talk about the biggest moments of the month. So you can tune in for that. But these are the top 10 moments that we will not forget long after the ball dropped on 2023. And, I feel like we should just get right into it. Let's do the thing. That's right. Because number 10 is, of course, the moment that went viral instantly. Ariana DeBose, hosting the BAFTAs in 2023. She delivered, first of all, I have to say, Homegirl 8, she was I thought it was actually like a really, really fun thing that she did. But she was doing kind of this like sing-song rap. I don't know what we call it. She's an excellent singer. Obviously, we know her from West Side Story. But I think that, she maybe just didn't prepare. She's a trained singer and she was like running out of breath the entire time that she was doing this performance. And it was just, she was trying to fit too much in. I don't know if she was also nervous. Of course she was, right? I mean, like, this is a huge moment for her. But it became even bigger when she started talking about the female actresses and trying to pay tribute to them all. And she's had these amazing little shout outs to all these wonderful women. And then she got to Angela Bassett. And while she's saying, Viola Davis, my woman king, callbacks to the films or the projects that these women had worked on, all she simply came up for was with Angela, or all she came up for Angela Bassett was Angela Bassett did the thing. And instantly it was a pop culture moment. And what even made it better was that later Angela Bassett actually did go on and she won an award. And this wasn't at the BAFTAs, but it was at another award show. And she came up to accept it. And she said, I guess Angela Bassett really did the thing. And so, I mean, that is when it's a pop culture moment and a forever staple, meme-worthy, GIF-worthy video that we'll always think of and call back to. Moment is when the star themselves is actually bought in and part of the moment. And so I know that like Ariana DeBose probably felt like a little flack and felt like probably like it didn't land the way that she wanted it to. But ultimately it was this incredible moment that we have. And I still to this day say Angela Bassett did the thing. So I love it. And it's our number 10 pop culture moment of 2023. So it's iconic, guys. Ariana, good for you, girl. And coming in at number 9. So I said, like, there was a lot of moments in 2023, and I was trying to narrow them down into what was kind of the biggest moments, or what were the things that really shocked people. And I felt like this one had to make the list So first, Madonna announced her celebration tour. So she was embarking on a tour that was going to span her 30 years of songs and music and eras. And of course, she couldn't call it the Eras Tour. Spoiler alert. But she hyped this big celebration tour, which was amazing. And people were so excited about it. And then we heard that Madonna was canceling the tour dates because she was in critical condition in the hospital. And when I say, and she, it was like some bacteria infection that led to her being hospitalized. I don't know. I don't know what to believe in this. I don't know if, celebrity exhaustion, quote unquote. I don't know what it was that was, we've seen some pretty wild antics from Madonna over the last couple of years on TikTok and social media. And she's obviously, been doing some work to her appearance. And so, I don't know what really truly led to this. If it was a bacterial issue or whatever it was, the reason that I felt like it made such a statement though for this year was that there was a moment where I think we all collectively gasped when the headlines broke that she was in this critical condition in the hospital and her children were like rushing to her side. I think we were all bracing ourselves for something much worse to come from this news. And so it was like the fact that people were so excited about this tour and now disappointed it was being canceled, it was like that took a back seat because we were all just kind of waiting to hear like what's happening to Madonna. And so because Madonna is Madonna. So, we didn't want to lose her in 2023 and luckily she recovered and she had a full recovery, okay? She went from like on top like doing all these tour rehearsals, doing all this stuff to in critical condition in the hospital, to a full recovery, and then rescheduled the concert dates and went out on tour. And then the tour itself, the photos you're seeing, the things the footage that's coming out of this tour, I mean, she is like doing it. And I mean, it's quite a comeback story. And so it's a pop culture moment for me. It comes in at number 9 because it really, truly like was this roller coaster of pop culture feelings that we had over Madonna in 2023. And so that is why the Madonna celebration tour and just Madonna's story in 2023 in general comes in at number 9. Number 8, of course, I have to cover it. I don't think that there's a ton to talk about, but the SAG strike and then the actor strike that followed, it was, of course, a huge moment. We're going to remember it when we think about the entertainment industry. It forever changed everything because the way that AI has become so incredibly ingrained in every industry, right? I mean, even with podcasting, there's so many things. The other day, I was looking at my one of my carriers that I work with, partners that I work with for the podcast, and they were showing me that I could have Santa as a guest, and you could just have a conversation with a AI Santa if you wanted to have that episode. You're welcome, by the way, that I didn't do that, okay? Because that just, I don't know where that goes, and I don't know how that works out. But like, there is some wild things happening with AI. And so celebrities and actors were really starting to become concerned over the fact that their likeness, and I mean, if you go on, Twitter is a wild place, or X, but if you go on any of the social platforms, you can start to see like people are making AI songs. Like you can hear Britney Spears sing Genie in a Bottle from Christina Aguilera because AI took her vocals and put it on this song. I mean, wild, wild things are happening. And so first, the writers were striking because they were saying, you're going to use AI to write all of this and we're going to be out of jobs. And so they needed to fight for their jobs essentially. And that then led to the actor strike who followed, and the actors wanted, to make sure that like you can't use our likeness. You can't just use our voice or use our face in various projects without paying us for this stuff. Like it's going to forever change the landscape of entertainment. But it also was a very extended strike that had major impacts to a lot of our pop culture moments that we could have had, because movies got delayed. TV shows are completely delayed. We are, all sort of waiting for some of our favorite TV shows to return. Euphoria, for example, one of the biggest shows right now that people have been talking about, it is unfortunately like not returning until I think 2025 now is what they're saying, but it kept getting pushed out. Euphoria is a show about teenagers. These actors are not going to be teenagers anymore when they finally are able to like get the show moving. And so it's like, it's wild what this strike did to the industry, and definitely disrupted things. And so that is why it comes in at number 8. At number 7, okay, so you might be saying like, Madonna made the list, how is he going to cover all this stuff? Because and so I'm going to group all of this stuff together, because there were so many Hollywood couples that did not make it through 2023. And I feel for them, right? And so this is our tribute. This is our moment of silence for all the couples that didn't make it through the year. I mean, cue the music and the backdrop of all of the tribute photos of these folks, because this is truly, it was actually kind of crazy. I've had this conversation with some of my friends that I was like, this year has been tough on relationships. I know some friends, I know family members that had really, really tough years in their relationships, or a tough year in 2023. And for some of these celebrity couples, it just didn't last. And so just to name a few of the big ones, I mean, obviously we had some, like, from a Bravo's perspective, Kyle and Mauricio announced their separation. We don't know if it's a full divorce. It does seem like it's heading that way. We didn't see it all play out yet in 2023, but they did announce their separation, and that was a huge moment. We obviously had Kim Zolciak and Troy Bierman. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, are they or aren't they? I don't know if they are still together or not. They had a tumultuous year. We all saw that play out. But beyond the Bravo space, we had Sofia Vergara and Joe Manganiello, Billy Porter and his husband, Jeremy Allen White, star of the Bear. I mean, he's like on top of the world now. Didn't make it through his marriage. Jodie Turner-Smith and Joshua Jackson announced their divorce. Busy Phillips got divorced. Maren Morris and Ryan Hurd announced their separation and divorce. Reese Witherspoon, Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee were married for 27 years, and they announced their divorce. We also got news that both Meryl Streep and her husband and Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, they both announced that they have been separated for years and years, and for whatever reason, they both announced it this year that they've been separated for years. They're not divorced, but they are separated. Which is just kind of wild. Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez, they got divorced. And then obviously there was a whole slew of news around that, because there were some rumors that Dalton Gomez might be homosexual, and that may have been what led to it. There was like some leaked videos or some leaked photos, I think, of him potentially with another man. Ariana was on the set of Wicked, as we know, filming for that huge film that comes out later this year, and met Ethan Slater on the set. And Ethan Slater, who was also married, they ended up, as we have to assume, they ended up having an affair. which then both of them separated and got divorced from their spouses. And now Ariana and Ethan are together. And wow, oh wow, what a pair. Okay. I don't really know what to say about Ethan. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, if you don't know Ethan, go ahead and take a little Google and Ethan Slater. And that's all I'm going to say. And I think Ariana's taller than him, and she's like 4 feet. So, I mean, it's wild. But Ariana did not make it. So thank you. Next. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner got divorced. Ricky Martin and his husband got divorced. And of course, Britney Spears and Sam Asghari also got divorced. And so it was 2023 was not kind to couples. And let's hope that 2024 is filled with love for all of these people and for all of you and for all of us. Because yeah, it was a tough year. Coming in at number 6, the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. Okay. I was obsessed. Now, I know that like HBO Max, I think, has a documentary on this. I have not seen it, and I'm going to tell you guys, don't watch it, okay? Because that sounds really boring. And the thing is that the Gwyneth Paltrow trial and the whole case in general is so boring and so mundane that it's like, this is so silly. This is a silly case of nothingness. And why are we even talking about it? But somehow we couldn't stop talking about it. Because, and if you don't know, there was this retired doctor, Terry Sanderson. He claimed that Gwyneth intentionally injured him by skiing into him in 2016 in Park City. So he sued her for $300,000. She said, there was a collision on the slopes. It was completely not intentional. And so she just to make sure that she was protecting her name and her reputation, she countersued him for $1. And this trial, it gained media attention. And I'm ultimately going to say it gained media attention because of the LOLs of it all. Sanderson's attorney when she began her line of questioning with Gwyneth, it became just like a fangirl over the Goop goddess. I mean, she was so enamored by Gwyneth that even Gwyneth couldn't keep a straight face during the line of questioning. And, Gwyneth delivered some incredible looks. I mean, courtroom drama looks that I think will probably become fashion staples, definitely pop culture staples. But I mean, she delivered in so many ways. She ultimately won the case. And, then there's, of course, the meme where she's leaning over to say something to Mr. Sanderson. And, everyone has their meme of what she was actually saying. But I think that it delivered so much. It was so entertaining. Just the snippets that were coming from it. You don't need to watch a whole documentary. You don't need to do a whole, podcast about this quote true crime. It's because it's not that, but just some of these little nuggets that we got from it. Oh, it was gold from a pop culture perspective. So thank you, Gwyneth, for delivering this moment. Now we have reached the top 5, and to kick it off, the top 5, I'm just going to say, is awfully pink in a lot of different ways. And largely because of number 5, of course, I'm talking about the Barbie movie. I mean, the biggest movie of the year, grossing over $1.5 billion. Okay. Now, Nicole Kidman has been trying her best for years to get people to return to the theater with those AMC ads. And I'm saying, no, she didn't do it. Nope. And she's probably kicking herself because those AMC ads, I mean, she put a lot into them. Okay. If you haven't seen them, she's doing some of her best character work in that. And you might want to check it out. But you know who did do it? Barbie. Barbie delivered a incredible return to the movies. I saw it in the film. I saw it in the theater. It was a it was a magical moment of us coming back post COVID, but not even like post COVID. It was just like we all wanted to go see this movie because there was so much nostalgia about it. And there was a ton of hype. Okay. So it definitely felt like it had the potential to be overhyped, but I'm going to say it delivered. Now, I know there are differing opinions out there that some people thought it was, you know, too watered down or too this or that or too cheesy. You think it's going to be this kind of cheesy movie walking in, or maybe at least that was what I did. I walked in being like, this is going to probably be pretty cheesy. It's a movie about Barbie. I mean, yeah. But what we actually got was a beautiful, beautiful film. And I would say everyone out there should see it, but definitely women. You want to feel empowered. You want to take your story back. This is a movie for you. And I think, you know, obviously Margot Robbie did an incredible job playing her. I can't imagine anyone else. I know Amy Schumer was up for the role. I don't even know. That movie would have been completely different, probably not have the same impact, but it is forever going to be one of the biggest movies um, that we talk about. And of course, now the studios are all trying to get rights to all the other Mattel toys. And I hear like there's a Hot Wheels movie like in the works. And I'm like, no, that wasn't the point. This movie was not about a toy coming to life. We've done that. Toy Story, right? It was a huge film for Disney. We've already done that story. That is not what we're seeing in Barbie. We're seeing a movie about something that is so nostalgic and so real about the women's movement and women's stories that has come to life through this toy. And it was really, really special. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to say too much because just make sure you get to the end because there is just so much there. And I thought it was a fantastic film. And I understand why it was the highest grossing movie of the year. So coming in at number 4, this is truly a moment of silence and a little bit down in this. And it's almost like, when you're doing a podcast like this or when you're counting down like pop culture moments, you want to keep it light and fun. And unfortunately, number 4 is not that. Because in number 4, we lost Matthew Perry this year. It was incredibly shocking after, he has clearly suffered for many years with addiction and a lot of health problems. He wrote his book. He was seemingly kind of on the other side, or at least that's what we thought. He seemed to be kind of like trying to get back. And it's a really, really tragic story. He, I'm not going to go into the details. You can Google it if you don't know. But I think the reason that this is such a pop culture moment is that Friends is one of the most cherished, at least American, but not really. It's across the world, is one of the most cherished shows of all time. And this is the first friend to die. And that has a major impact because when we first heard it, it was shocking news. It was sad. The world instantly was mourning. But then everybody turned their attention to the other 5 friends to find out, what are they going to say? How are they doing? How must they be feeling? Because this is a cast that historically banded together when the show was taking off and some of the actors wanted more money, they banded together to say, we're all getting paid the same and we're all going to continue on this journey together. And they were a tight-knit group for so many years, and they were truly friends. And they still, we see them on Instagram. We see some of them, get together for dinners and, especially the ladies, they keep in touch a lot. But, Jennifer Aniston had said that she had spoken to Matthew Perry just, basically hours before he passed. And, they kept in touch. Like, these were true friends. So it was more than just cast members. and colleagues. And so the world felt a major shift when we lost our very first friend with Matthew Perry. And so that is why it is, of course, high on this list. And it's number 4, biggest pop culture moment. In 2023, we also lost some other big names in pop culture. Tina Turner, Bob Barker, Alan Arkin, David Crosby, Tony Bennett, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, Lisa Marie Presley, and Angus Cloud from Euphoria. A lot of them really tragically we lost this year. But no bigger sort of headline than Matthew Perry. And that is why that's all coming in at number 4. Number 3, we, of course, are going to have to talk about it. I have a whole podcast about it, a whole episode if you want to dive into it more. But The Woman in Me. Britney Spears finally broke her silence in 2023 by releasing her first book. The Woman in Me, it came out towards the end of the year in October, and it became the highest selling book of the year. And because that's the impact, people have been waiting for 13 years for Britney to talk about everything that she went through, not just in the conservatorship, but in the story of her life, about the moments with Justin Timberlake, the moments growing up with the Mickey Mouse Club and on Broadway and doing the things, getting signed at such a young age, and then having this incredibly massive success and career right out of the gate almost. And, it was a very compelling story, one that I flew through. Michelle Williams delivered the audiobook because it was too painful for Britney to relive a lot of those moments. But we got some major headlines out of it. We, of course, we got Michelle Williams' instantly iconic reading of Justin Timberlake's interaction with Genuine. And I won't create it here again. I did it already on the other podcast, but on the other episode, but I am, it's incredible. It in itself is a pop culture moment. But we got so much from the story, and we learned that Britney and Justin Timberlake had conceived a child, that they ended up having an abortion. And really that we learned that kickstarted so much of what we ended up watching as Britney's mental breakdown. And it just really added a lot of clarity into Britney's story and what had happened and all the things that, sort of took place, and that we sort of, pointed the finger at her for so many years. And it really shed a light on what she was going through behind the scenes. And I think, really helped narrate what was actually happening. And so, people continue to judge and point fingers and say, is she okay? Is she well? But this is the time that Britney is free. Britney is able to make her own decisions now. And one of those decisions was that she was going to tell her story. And she did that in The Woman in Me. So it comes in at number 3, because we will be definitely talking about Britney and the impact of this story for years and years to come. So coming in at number 2, now Time Magazine had it right on the money when they called this next person the person of the year. And of course, I'm talking about Taylor Swift. Who else, right? You're probably like, Chris, what's going on? Who's number 1? How could it not be Taylor? Because if 2023 was anything else, it was truly the year of Taylor. She was Time's Person of the Year, rightfully so. She has one of the biggest tours of all time. Now, let's not forget, when these tickets went on sale for the Eras Tour, it broke Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster came under fire. She had a huge impact with this tour. She kept adding more dates. It's gone across the world. It's continuing into this year. She delivered so many albums, because with her Taylor's version albums, she released all these albums. She ended up breaking all kinds of records for having all of these albums chart, singles on the chart. Cruel Summer from her album Lover from years ago went #1 this year. It came back into the stratosphere. Like Taylor, she's doing so many things that are unheard of. Things that, like, when an album cycle is over, it's usually over. So to have these songs like reemerging in the top 10, let alone #1 on Billboard charts, is so unheard of. And so just that in itself was a massive undertaking. The Eras tour, grossing, I think at this point, over $1 billion. I think she herself became a billionaire this year. She ended up like giving her crew and the folks that are working on the tour these massive bonuses. She's just doing so many things that are really, really sort of setting the bar for celebrities and for stardom and superstardom. And she broke Elvis's record for the most #1. I think it's the most weeks at #1 or something like that. But she's just doing the most. And some people say too much. But you know what she did in 2023 is the Eras Tour truly did, and there are studies, you can go Google this. There are studies that are showing that she truly did sort of save the economy in a time where we were getting a little nervous, and we still might be a little bit nervous about what's happening in the economy, but people are traveling, people are spending money, people are going to stay in hotels and restaurants and doing all of these things just to see Taylor Swift. And that was no more true than for the NFL this year. Already America's biggest sporting event, and probably one of the biggest things that we celebrate as Americans. Not me personally, but I'm not a huge sports fan, but Americans in general, like, we celebrate football. And this year, it got even bigger when Taylor and Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs announced that they were together. And then Taylor started showing up at the games, and the NFL said that the ratings skyrocketed because Swifties just want to get a glimpse of her at the game. So they started watching football as a way to see Taylor Swift react in the crowd. So, of course, we were getting all kinds of fan footage, and even the NFL themselves, the networks, were showing a lot of cuts to Taylor Swift. And it's like she just is unstoppable. There is so much that she's doing. And quite frankly, I think for the better. I think that she has really, set the bar in a way that artists should try to achieve. And I think that she is the biggest thing of the year. And so Taylor Swift comes in at #2. Now, I know I said she's the biggest thing of the year. But when we think about pop culture moments and the moments that really had us jaw dropped, right? Where are we gagging? Where are we on the floor melting, right? Taylor Swift, amazing, had a huge year. She was everywhere. We've celebrated her, okay? But she didn't do anything that made me fall to the floor. But what did is when the news broke that rocked our nation, that Tom Sandoval had cheated on Ariana Madix with Raquel, which we now call Rachel. Okay. Scandival comes in at #1, and it has to. It's one of the biggest moments that happened this year. It's insane how a Bravo TV show, and this isn't even Housewives, okay? A Bravo TV show that some will say was on its way out, because these kids from Vanderpump Rules, they were, its old charm of them being servers at Sir and, smoking ciggies in the back alley. It was a moment back in the day. And watching these kids sort of then become adults, we were on our way out. It was just like it wasn't giving what it used to give. It was going through some rebooting, and they were really trying to retool it in a way that they didn't know what they were potentially up against. And then this happened, and it rocked the world. I mean, I remember seeing Scandival specials on CNN. Okay, on the ticker, we have updates about Scandival. People are literally calling it Scandival. That is a pop culture, like, that's a definition of a pop culture moment, is when it has its own name. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are Bennifer. Like, they're a pop culture iconic couple. Scandival is a thing that is going to live on forever. And it completely skyrocketed Bravo. It put like reality television in a completely different stratosphere. It was insane what was coming out. And then the fact that the season had basically been shot for all intents and purposes, it had wrapped when all of this sort of happened and when Ariana found out about the affair. But what we ended up finding out as viewers is that there were so many nuggets that once we actually knew that this was happening, there was a bit of like going into the season, it was like, but we already know that all this happens because it's now been all over the news. So are we going to just be watching like this really false reality? What we ended up watching was delicious. It was them. You see it. You see these things happening and you're like, how are all these people so blind to what's going on and right in front of them between Rachel and Tom? It was so insane. And, then it went on to, we've got Ariana went on to be huge. She was getting endorsement deals. She starred in a movie. She went on Dancing with the Stars and did a fantastic job. And announced that she was going to be this year on Broadway in Chicago as Roxy Hart. She had her own Uber Eats ads with Sheena and Lala that savings. I mean, we're all singing it. And, it was just a moment. The Vanderpump Rules kids really had their moment. Of course, Ariana had the biggest moment. But yeah, it was just everywhere you went, there they were. And everybody wanted a piece of that action. They were selling merch. They all started podcasts. Everyone was everywhere because Scandival was so big and it was truly a moment that will go down in history. And so that is why I called Scandival the biggest pop culture moment of 2023. And that brings us to the end of the list, guys. We've done it. Now, I will say, I said at the top, this was a tough list because there were some other things that I felt like could have, made the list. Rihanna revealed her pregnancy at the Super Bowl. Paris Hilton became a mom twice and surprised and shocked the world with that news. And a cockroach walked the red carpet at the Met Gala. Okay? Now, if you don't know about that, I'm going to remind you because it was a moment. The Met Gala, this like very well-known event for fashion and bringing all the looks. And the thing that made the news is that there was a cockroach on the actual carpet that was working its way down the carpet. And it made news. And it's hilarious. And I wasn't just talking about Lisa Rinna. Okay, so those are some honorable mentions, but we had so much to talk about in 2023. It was quite a year for pop culture. And like I said, 2024, we are only days into it, okay? And the list is already being built for next year. So much has happened and continues to happen, but, we'll be here together because I'll be here every week covering the biggest pop culture stories in the news and, of course, interviewing the people that make pop culture pop. So that's it for me from this second annual Top Moments of 2023. And until next time, it's been Chris Vetrano. Thanks for listening. Bye.